Welcome back to part two in this interview preparation performance series. We're now looking at types of questions, and there's really three types of questions: open questions, hypotheticals, and behavioural questions. An open question is an opportunity for you to market yourself. Tell me about yourself. What attracted you to this role? What are your strengths and weaknesses? But what does a real life question look like? A real life question might be, why is it important to follow guidelines and procedures? Or what are the three attributes? To help make this more realistic, I have Rhonda Beggs here, School of Nursing, to give us a bit of a practical perspective on these questions.
Hello everybody. So one of the examples that you might use for following guidelines and procedures is something that's very commonly known to you, for example, infection control or manual handling procedures. These answers are commonly well established if you can give an example from your practice as well to really back it up. So an example of why it was important to either the patient or to the ward area.
Thanks, Rhonda. Next type of question, hypotheticals. Scenarios, there's no right or wrong answer. They're looking to see how you think on your feet. They normally start with a what would you do if type introduction. They can deal with all sorts of areas. Some of the real life questions we've dug up would be, what would you do if you were in a situation of conflict in the workplace? Rhonda?
Okay, another good question. And one of the things that you might do is think about some of the areas of work that you've been in. Give an example from clinical, again, is always very good. And it may not be a conflict as in a shouting match or something where somebody has been really cross, but just a decision where you've had to go to somebody and say, I understood why you made that decision, but I think I might have done it this way. Perhaps we can talk about that. Or perhaps you might be negotiating changes in care, either with a patient who feels very strongly that they don't want one option, but you know from evidence base that that's the best, and you might talk your way around that.
Thank you, Rhonda, for clarifying that. The third type are behavioural questions, and really these are probably the main sort of questions most people get at an interview. They're wanting you to share your experiences. They'll normally start with can you provide us with an example of a time when, or tell us about a time when you. And this is where your star stories really come and pay dividends. So here are some real life examples that people did get. Rhonda, what can you say about these?
Okay, describing a time when you receive positive feedback. Sometimes it's really hard to know what to do when you receive positive feedback, but hopefully by now you've all had some, and you will have your examples in your ANSAT. So again, that's a good piece of evidence to take to an interview. So describe how you felt, what the situation was, how that made you feel when you received the positive feedback, and why you reflected on that and what that gave you in terms of your learning for future. That's a really good example for that.
Thanks, Rhonda. So they're the three main sorts of questions. What are the three main types of questions you might get asked at interview, and how are you going to go about preparing for them? So to summarise, in terms of preparing for your interview, role research is really important. Understand what the main sorts of skills are they're looking for. Know about the organisation that you're going to, the hospital, the health service. What's their reputation? What do they stand for? And be up to date with happenings in your career. It's just professional, and really focus on those star stories. They're going to be what helps you convince the interviewer that you really are the graduate nurse for the job.